Welcome to Spoiler Kings. I am Bryon the Grizzly here with Dr. Waller, my father. I told you guys this was coming. I told you we were going to sit there and talk about these things. And Paradise is on the agenda tonight. We're going to kind of go through each episode breakdown real quick, and then we'll talk about our overall feeling for the series. And then he has 4 things he wants to bring up himself. So I'm excited to hear those because I'm not privy to any of this stuff. You guys are hearing it just like I am, and we'll talk about it, and you tell us what you think through all the comments. So without any delay, this is once again Dr. Waller. Yeah, I enjoyed this entire episode, this entire series, really. But episode 1, Wildcat is down. It's just another day in paradise until Agent Xavier Collins discovers one of the world's most powerful individuals has been viciously murdered. Xavier analyzes the crime scene while recalling his complex relationship with the victim. So, what are your feelings to this first episode?
Well, my thoughts are, I have a couple things. First of all, what a start of a series. Boy, it was one of those things that grabbed you and didn't let you go. That first episode was so exciting. You couldn't wait to see the next one.
Yep.
Because it really, really had you. But I think the most important thing was, boy, the character introduction. You know, when you see the characters and they really develop them, that was like, you know, like I felt like I cared about Xavier Collins. You know, I felt like I really got to know him. And so they grabbed me in that first one. And then Cal, you know, Bedford, the president, again, if it seemed like there are 2 guys and other characters that you really, really liked. And I think that's what episode 1 did for me. It grabbed me and didn't let me go and made me think about, I can't wait to episode 2. So that's really was my first impression of episode number 1.
I gotta agree. I think this is the best pilot I've seen. Like, there's a long time ago, it was a TV show called Mantis that had an amazing pilot too. But since then, this is probably the best pilot I've seen come out for series that I mean, I had no idea what I was jumping into. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed them having kids. I understand their complex relationship. I enjoyed the thought that Xavier Collins said, I need 30 minutes because this looks like I did it. He was able to have forward thinking enough to say, hey, I'm a black man. I'm guarding the president. I need 30 minutes to come to see this. And I want to bring the guy I trust the most in with me. We're going to discuss this before I bring in everybody else. Because as soon as they do that, I do that, all this shuts down. He was smart enough to know those things and see it coming.
Yes. I mean, you know what? I agree with that. However,
what? You agree?
However, you know, I always look at things from a psychological perspective.
Oh, here we go.
You know, as a psychologist, of course, that's what I do. I mean, I'm a psychologist. I'm a professional counselor. You know, I'm a coach. What did I do? Those are things that I have to look at the characters from those lenses.
Okay.
So in episode 1, I noticed a change in Xavier Collins.
Yeah, we all saw that, yeah.
But the change, though, from my point of view, was after being shot. He was a different person.
He warmed up to the president, to Bradford Cal. He warmed up beforehand. It was interesting because we saw from the interview process, and Cal's trying to joke with him and open up, and Xavier's like, no, I'm here to do a job. I'm keeping my personal life and my private life separate. And as much as you're trying to engage me, I'm going to do this job. And I think you have to do that sometimes as a black person, you know, especially, you know, in a professional job that they don't normally see you in. So I'm not going to engage with you that way. I don't want you treating me that way. So he wanted to keep it professional. And I love that. Once he did get shot, once he opened himself up, he then kind of viewed Cal more as a companion, almost like as a peer. And then they opened up their relationship a little bit more.
See, I saw it very differently. Okay. I saw it like really before and after being shot, the trauma. Before, Xavier Collins was a straight edge, straightforward, moral, right or wrong thinker. It was right or wrong. This happened, this should be the results. That's how it was at the beginning. But after being shot, there seemed to be a change. He wasn't as, you know, absolute. He wasn't as morally right or wrong afterwards, because you can notice in even his behavior, not only with the president, with even some of the other secret agents. He was like, okay, I need you to go and do this. I need you to go and do that. And he wasn't the one always doing it. He allowed some other people to do that. And you saw just he went through some change. And for me, I'm
Mm.
being shot. That's what I noticed about it, because he was very different.
Also part of the secrets. As he started to get open up and hear more about the secrets, it made his job more complex.
Sure.
So his job is defending the president, yes, but now he's also a family man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he has his kids he has to worry about. He has his wife who is demanding, and we'll talk about her later as a character overall. He had all these things he's kind of juggling, and then he's opened up now to the president. But I don't know if that was the thing that changed him as much as the losing of his wife. When we saw that scene as we get later into the season, that really changed him, and then that's what made their relationship more complicated than we had at the beginning. But we're starting to get into other episodes, so I want to get into episode 2 real quick, which is more focused on Sinatra.
Well, could I say one more thing before
you're going to get back to Xavier? And
no, I just wanted to say one thing. You had a point on one thing when you said that he did not report it immediately. That was another example of him being very different. That would have never happened before. He would have never not reported it immediately.
That's not true, because he's even with his father. So this is why I didn't want to get to this point, because even when he was dealing with his father, he didn't report his father immediately. He gave his father another chance. He's like, look, this is your one last chance to do this, and now then I'm going not to let you do this. I passed it. But he gave him he wasn't absolute right then. He was always at the point, because he has relationships. He had relationships that he kind of dealt with, and he leveled it with who he was. So like, yes, I'm right. It's right or wrong, but I also have these personal relationships. So I think what he had with his father was, I'm still going to let you go fly one more time, even though technically I shouldn't let you do it ever again.
See, that's the thing. He had a very interesting relationship with his father. That's another thing I'm going to talk about, which is
but that's why I didn't want to open that up.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little later. But the thing about it, no, he said he didn't just give him another chance. He wanted to see where the dementia was. He wanted to see when he felt like, no, it's going to put everything at risk. No question, I'm going to do this. But that's what I mean.
But he still let his father go fly again,
because there was no reason for him to do anything, because he did not know
know. The
Okay.
law was, if you have the dementia, you have to report it immediately.
And that's why he tried to get the evidence.
But he didn't report it immediately still.
Okay. So we saw it differently.
We saw it differently.
See, okay. I saw it differently. I saw he didn't know for sure. And soon as he knew for sure, there was no question. He just moved on it. Okay.
He still let him fly. He still let him go fly.
Well, that's the one thing. Like I said, you see it one way, I see it a little differently, because I see it through the eyes of looking at before the shooting and after the shooting, and how
I was told on you. The next episode, Sinatra, Rick Collins interrogated Samantha Redmond, codename Sinatra, begins to reassure the community as she reflects on how she got to paradise and actually really built it. This was another interesting episode because it kind of really identified who Sinatra was, talked about her family, and you saw a very big change with her. Another psychological thing. That's something I agree with. You can see exactly what happened. And the displacement, or she pulled away from everyone once she lost her son. She pulled out from, you saw she was in love with her husband, right? She had her daughter. She loved her daughter. All those things. Though she was still there, she wasn't present anymore once that happened. And you could see the distinct change in her and even her ability to rationalize a lot of stuff. So that was huge. But tell me what you thought about episode 2, Sinatra.
Okay. Well, I saw a couple things. First of all, boy, in episode 2, the first thing you thought about, something is going on here. After episode 1,
you saw the lights.
Yeah, you're like, oh, something is going on. And that was the intriguing part of episode 2, is like, wow, something is going on. I can't wait to see. And I saw the character development of Sinatra or Redmond. I saw, again, sadness. I saw loss, depression. on one end where you can see the loss of her son and going through that with her family, that you saw that. But it also, you can see how it pushed away her from her husband and her
daughter. Mm-hmm.
And really, she was really obsessed with, you know, her son. And that what really became the motivation of even creating the city, was the loss of him. At the same time, there was something else going on with her. That other part, you can see how wealthy and powerful she was.
Well, if you went from being just a regular person to automatically having $40 billion.
Well, when selling it and that. But that's the point. Now she's seeing things from, she's probably but she's already from a wealthy family. So it was more like this power. Yes. Well, that'll be something we can talk about.
I don't know if it was a wealthy. She was a middle class, maybe upper middle class person. That's totally different from having $100,000 to having $40 billion. Those are huge, two different worlds, and the power that comes along with it.
I agree.
Totally different.
I agree. Being a billionaire is very different than being a thousand or a millionaire, a multimillionaire. So I agree with that. However, I think those are the two things that you notice about Sinatra as a character. You're dealing with her sadness and her depression, you know, and then at the same time, you're dealing with her power and her drive to make something happen. So those are the two things I noticed about her. But it made you think, something is going on after you start seeing some other things go on when they try to, you know, to build the city. So yes. So again, something is going on. It got me again. So I'm ready for episode number 3.
Okay. So episode 3, the architect of the social well-being. Isolated Xavier seeks answers on his own. Well, before we get into this, I actually do think we need to go back to episode 2 because we got to talk about Xavier being interrogated. Being in that room, being interrogated, that was a huge moment. And seeing Dr. Gabriel Tarabi and coming in, so not all the way understanding what was going on, and now then realizing she picked him specifically. She didn't just pick him, she picked everyone there, and she knew why she picked them. She had a plan for each person, and she picked Xavier because of the type of man he was. Once again, you know, he's gonna be a no nonsense. If all things break down, whole social world breaks down, there's one man that was gonna be able to be himself all the time, and you can count on
do the right thing.
That's what he's
gonna do the right thing.
And we then learn more about him with his wife and with his kids and all those things, who he really is. And I think this is later in the later episodes when you hear about his wife saying, basically, you're a man that's just pretty much calm, cool, collected, always measured about what you're doing. And one day you're going to be pushed to your edge and you're going to cross that line. And I feel sorry for anyone who pushes you over that edge. That was a moment. That was a moment.
But there was a couple of those, and we'll talk about a couple of those. And you're right. Man. That was one situation where it's like you're pushed over the edge. And, you know, I would definitely like to talk a little bit about the relationship between, you know, Xavier and his wife. That's a very interesting relationship.
It is.
You know, and especially I would like to talk about it in context with his wife, with his father, with his mother, with his daughter, with his son.
He is.
Yes, and those relationships where you get a chance to see who he is, not in relationship to his job,
which he tried to always keep separate.
Exactly, to this is who he is in person, which is very, very interesting. However, I just think that really it's just one of the things that you really grab you when you saw the complexity, you know, and layers of this particular character.
But isn't that what makes a thing compelling, a show compelling, when you can engage with the character as it did in episode 1, and then you see the complexity of that character, and you can see yourself or someone you know was within that character because he has so many points that are different. You know, so I think that you see the duality of him.
Yeah.
You know, you see his home life, how it's different than who he is as an individual, which is different than who he is, you know, at work. There's a lot of complexities to the character, which I really did enjoy.
And I think they did the same thing with Redmond, with Sinatra. You got a chance to see Sinatra at home and how she was, especially with her son. You saw a different side of her
Mm-hmm.
and who she was,
But once her son died, I feel like that part of her died.
Well, yeah, but I think there was a process, like even dealing with her sadness, even thinking about the possibility, oh no, the world is going to end, something's going to happen. What do I need to do? And she took some personal responsibility on it. And it may have been driven through her loss, but she got involved.
Even that part is interesting, because I really believe that what she though she was disengaged from her daughter, I think the idea of protecting her daughter at any cost,
her family, yes,
yeah, was the driving motivation. Like, no matter, I lost him, I can't lose another one. I can't. So no matter what, I'm gonna do all these things to make sure they're okay.
I'm with you. I did make sure that my family is okay.
But
and then you
only
saw
her immediate family. It wasn't like her father, her mother,
right,
any of that
right.
stuff. It was just this
her
family,
husband and her
daughter.
daughter.
My daughter. That's it.
But then you saw throughout this show little mementos about her son. You know how he was about horses, or riding a horses and everything. Throughout that community, you see these little horses everywhere. And I can imagine there's a lot of other things throughout the community that really reminded her of him. So therefore, it was really her creating a space for a lot of people, but also for her to deal with her sadness and her loss, and to maintain the safety of her family. So I saw those levels.
And keep his memory alive.
Yes, for sure. Okay. For sure.
All right. So as I was in the episode 3, the architect of social well-being, isolated Xavier seeks answers on his own and cautiously turns to Dr. Gabriel Tarabi. Meanwhile, Billy and Jane feel the pressure from Robinson's investigation. This is a very interesting episode. Seeing Xavier dealing with Dr. Tarabi was one. Her dealing with him, and obviously, I feel like she was always interested in him from the beginning. That's why she was like pushing for him to be there. Why she even put him on the top of the pile when she was dealing with Cal. But like literally, she was like, "Well, I gave you a whole pack," but she pushed this guy, and I think that interest stayed with her. So even when she's dealing with him on the outside, it was from her interest initially. So I think that their interaction, their relationship was very interesting, and how Xavier dealt with it was crazy too. As we get along in the season 2, meeting Billy, I didn't know exactly what to think of him. And seeing him doing all these weird things that maybe he is the villain, maybe he is the bad guy. You questioning that, and with questioning him, maybe you question Xavier's idea of who he was, and should he have brought him into that investigation at the beginning.
Sure.
All those things are all there. And then once again, Jane kind of flies under the radar, which is intentional, obviously. And this is what we get for this episode. So what did you see from this episode?
See, I was totally into Dr. Tarabi.
Gabriel
Tarabi. As a psychologist.
Of course you were.
Of course, as a psychologist. Of course, I was into Dr. Tarabi. Again, now you have 3 complex individuals where you can see layers. I recognized with her is that this was her life's work. This was like her ultimate thing. But it says a lot about her in that, she's counseling a billionaire. Is this her practice where she counsels billionaires, through their life challenges? Is this part of who she is, in that she really knows how to relate to billionaires? Maybe she came from a wealthy family.
No, but see, it's funny you saying that, because when she had her book signing, she had a dude that had nothing to do with money or any of that other stuff, and he was like, "I need your help," and she gave him her number too.
Sure, but it says a lot about her being able to work with that level of client, and who really develop a really sometimes it seemed a little inappropriate.
I thought she became her conscience. She became her Jimmy Cricket.
It became, this sounds a little inappropriate. It crossed some boundary lines, but again, This was her thing. And it
Mhm.
seems like she was totally absorbed by, like you said earlier, picking 25, well, probably not 25,000, probably over
15,000.
15, 20,000 people
Yeah.
that she had to handpick. So it says a lot about how she was trusted by Redmond. First of all, Sinatra. She was trusted by Sinatra and giving her this, responsibility to pick these people. And for her to have the insight, I need to have a varieties of types of people.
Mhm.
One's a function where the place got a function, but we need some stability here. And that's what you were saying, how they chose Collins, because when things come down to it, you need somebody who's what they're going to do. It's not going to be a question. This is what they're going to do. And it seems like, just like you said with Dr. Tarabi, she was told this is the guy who's going to do it and put all that trust in him. So
Well,
to
she
me,
chose this guy. She's the one who chose him. She found him and chose specifically him.
yes, yes. But being able to choose these people to fulfill a society, that just seems like, really something, because it reminds me of a book called, by, I think it's B.F. Skinner, who wrote a book about creating a society and what it looked like, so it reminded me of those psychological things too. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I really, again, another character where I was like, oh, excellent character development. Interesting.
Well, even with her, I mean, you guys see that her relationship with Sam or Sinatra really blinded her, because she was so trusting. She thought she was a good person without really diving into who she is.
Oh, but she was a little, let's tell the truth. Dr. Tarabi was a little manipulative too.
Of course.
She was manipulative too. She, again, both have crossed boundaries, and she was like, I'm going to get certain people in to do certain things, and I'm going to get her to do certain things. This is my life work. So she got a chance to put herself in there too. And
Yeah,
she
but
was
she
very
also
confident in doing it.
never checked out who this person is that gave you all the power.
Oh, I think she knew. I think she knew. I think she knew she was, I think she knew that she was, at the time, she was
troubled,
hurt.
and she believed that she'll be able to fix it.
Yes.
And that was the problem.
Well, but that's how she thought she can compensate. Well, she's hurt. I recognize what her limitations are. So therefore, maybe I can overcompensate and take care of those types of things, which again shows a crossing of boundaries there. But, but the story still is interesting. Now you have, Dr. Tarabi and Redmond, and then you have Dr. Tarabi and Collins.
Which is really interesting.
And
we saw what we saw from that relationship.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
What did you think about the whole Billy and Jane? What was your first initial thoughts about Billy and Jane?
I thought that Billy was manipulating Jane. I thought she was young, a young, impressionable agent who was looking for somebody to guide her through this very difficult time of transitioning from, one role to now this huge role of guarding the president. I just thought that this was a really, really big jump, and that she needed somebody to do that. And you saw some things about her that, you questioned Billy, and you questioned her.
I thought she was just a follower, and I thought Billy was doing stupid stuff.
Right.
But Billy's doing stupid stuff because she's a woman and he likes her. She was not being stupid at all. She was literally setting all these things in motion and kind of camouflaging a lot of her or what she's doing.
Yeah,
and I can say innocent role.
Yeah, I would say she was that she's a woman, but also she's a young woman, and that she's inexperienced. She's an inexperienced person. He probably thought he can manipulate.
I don't know if that because we saw Billy's, as we get into episode 4, we saw episode Billy Pace. We start to see how he developed. The Citizen of Paradise celebrate at the annual carnival. Xavier and Billy delve deeper into the investigation. This is the episode we really learn about Pace and understand his upbringing from his uncle and where he kind of got his violence from, that he was in jail and all of those things, and how he was also a person that you don't want to mess with. And why he was chosen for this
Mhm.
situation, made you think about one way, and then realize that he never had that point, that family. He never had that happy place.
Mhm.
And Xavier gave him that.
Mhm.
You start to understand maybe Xavier was right about him the whole time, and that this guy really does love him no matter what, and will be for no matter what. So maybe
Mhm.
Xavier does pick good people. But
Mhm.
what did you see in this episode?
Again, from a psychological perspective, I began to look at even Billy and Jane, and saw a lot of you see a lot of immature types of behavior. But I can imagine looking for ways to make it fun. It's boring.
Yeah.
When they're playing Wii and they're willing to turn off the cameras to play Wii. Wow, that's really significant. Decision making seemed questionable.
The question should have been, who suggested to do that?
That's really interesting that we don't know that. But the
I
thing about
guarantee it was Jane.
it was
Guarantee it was Jane who suggested, just turn off the cameras and let's play it together.
yeah.
Innocent, once again.
Again, maybe
Young. You think
or Billy's thinking, oh, I can easily manipulate her too. So I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. I don't think that Billy really thought that far. I think he was really just trying to create a relationship. That's where they're living together and all these things. I think he was trying to create a relationship, and she was trying to manipulate him.
Yes, I don't see, but I think Billy was more complicated than we're talking about. Remember,
so now we can talk about his story. His story is interesting.
His story going from abuse, well, of course, being abandoned and abuse, and then looking at how to use that abuse, and he transitioned to violence. So therefore, protection of himself, and he became very violent, and we saw very many opportunities of his violence. Whether in the detention or whatever. So he became very violent, and then of course now how to use the violence. He becomes a sniper assassin. Whereas now he's using that, so you can see again.
People are using him too.
Yes, but he's trying to use it too. Hey, how can I live in this world? Hey, I'm going to do the things that really come easy to me. I'm going to kill people, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be, again, I'm just going to live my life, and that's about it. And that's what it seems like, just living my life. And this thing became the change. It changed him. And now it's like, you mean I can have stability? I can have stability now in this place right here, and I got a job and a guy who we can be friends.
And he brought Billy into his family, and Billy has never felt that type of love or respect and understanding how that family dynamic actually works. He's never experienced it
Never experienced any connection like that in family. We know the story. Now he has this connection with family, and he wants to hold on to it. And I can imagine, feeling connected with family, and then feeling connected with Jane too.
Exactly. I don't think he's trying to manipulate her. He was seeking someone to get something like that with.
Yes, but that was the other episode. But in this episode, I see.
No, this is all Billy episode 4, because he was looking for anyone, and she was the one that he kind of worked out with. We find this out also because in the carnival, during the carnival, he talked to Xavier's daughter, Presley. Is it Presley? Yeah, Presley. He talks to Presley and gives her all the advice, and talks to her about his innermost feelings about how he even saw Jane, and why he will pursue those things. So you started to understand who Billy was. So it took all this time to get to Billy, and then Xavier confronts him and says, "What you been doing? What you've been lying to me? How can I trust you? What the hell?" And Billy opens up to him and tells him, "No, look, I promise you don't understand the whole story. I will never do that to you, but I've done things that I'm not proud of. And I'll tell you about the whole thing tomorrow." The dumbest move. Always wait until the next day. Why? I just want to enjoy tonight to be the uncle. That is a plot device, and it made me angry.
Well, it made you angry? No, I mean, you sort of expected it, because everything else is, something's going to happen. Every episode is like something's going to happen, and in this one, I mean, at the end of 3, you see, oh no, Jane and he planned doing something. Oh no, what did they do? Dun dun dun. Did they do something? Then we get to here and we get to Pace and we look Billy, and Billy's now seeing his layers and everything, and finally see him connect to people that he's like, maybe I can have a life. Maybe I can have a life.
Right.
And then
he doesn't make it. So he gets home, thinks everything's gonna work. Yeah, you know, he and Xavier got through all of it, and he gets home and Jane's there, and he's just sitting down talking to her, having a drink. And you know, what's actually is funny because he had a conversation with Sinatra, and he told her, "Yeah, I'm not doing this. You touch one hair or any of this family's head, any of them, I will kill you, no doubt. And if you want to send someone out for me, you better bring the biggest and baddest because I will kill them too." Goes home, sees Jane, having a sip with someone, lets his guard down, and that's the final thing he ever did. Because Jane came the biggest and baddest. That's the biggest and baddest, the one who's right next to you.
Well, no, what did it say about Sinatra?
She's cold.
Sinatra is thinking steps ahead just in case. So I'm going to have Billy in there. I'm going to have Jane. I'm going to have these other people in my little town that I can use. So she's thinking, right. So she's thinking steps ahead. And here she is, you know, first of all, the thing that really got revealed is that Billy is the one who killed the people who left.
Mm-hmm.
He killed him. Again, I can imagine he's like, I try to get away from all this. And then I get down here and you make me do what I did before. Now all I'm gonna do. That was
the reason he made it there. That's the only reason he's down there.
Yeah, but now I got to come here and I got to do it, kill people again. So I can hear why he was like, "Don't you? I'll kill you. You better bring somebody because I'm coming after you if that happens." Mm-hmm. And then for her to have a step ahead and say, "I've already taken care of it already," and to have Jane to do that. Wow.
Hey, Samson. Who's the one you can't trust? Like, oh, you think you're big and bad and powerful and everything. Who's the one's gonna cut your hair? Mm-hmm. The one right next to you. I got you.
Right.
That's messed up.
That is messed up. Wow. That is messed up.
And then now it's bye Billy. So now we get to episode 5. It's in the palaces of the crowned kings. Xavier faces the consequences of his investigation, forcing him to consider how to proceed. Meanwhile, Cal's family history and his last days are examined. Mm-hmm. The beginning of this episode, Collins had to deal with telling his family about Billy. Mm. And I believe right when he was going to tell Presley about Billy, she was going to tell him about the tablet. Mm-hmm. She was about to tell him, but telling him about Billy, everything just went out the window. It just happened to go that way. And man, that was horrible timing. It really was. Because it could have saved them some aggravation. It could have probably made them get through this a little bit easier if she would just been able to share that.
But the show can't allow that to happen. Can't allow that to happen. It's gonna like, you thought I was gonna do this? Hey, I did this. Yeah. I saw this episode is Everything Has Changed. That's the title I gave it in my head. Everything's changed. Sure, now you spent time telling me what happened. Now these characters, now I'm gonna hit you with everything's gonna change. I got these, now I'm gonna shake it up and make it where now it's like I'm gonna change everything for everybody. And I think this episode, everything's changed. The secret is out of the bag. Mm-hmm. Everything's changed and the secret is out of the bag. And once the secret is out of the bag, it is really one of those things that I think is really changing everything. And that's when Colin said, I got to make a plan.
Yep. And this is the episode where he talked about what his wife said kind of came to fruition. Like, anyone who crosses you and you pushes you over this line, they're in for a whole world of hurt. And man, he had a good plan.
Yes, he did. Really did. And it's like, so you pushed me to this point. Okay. And you know what? He didn't run away. He stood in front of the camera.
Yeah, dude. He just sitting there. Look at that. And then turns and looks around, looks at the sky and flashing. You're being lied to.
You're being lied to.
Who is Sinatra? Like, dude, the stuff that he was doing was ingenious. And then because you talk about good, evil, being a black and white guy. Black is white. Well, at the beginning, remember when he talked to his neighbors, like, "Hey, you have a dog? Don't tell nobody. I got you. I'll keep your secret." And then he used that to get, for that favor, to be able to get that in the sky. It's almost like he was making a plan, but not realizing he was doing favors just in case he needed to call it in.
Yeah, you know what I said? You know what I say? Like I said in episode 1, I noticed that he wasn't as right or wrong as he was at the beginning.
I think that had everything to do with
now
his
he has
wife.
some gray. I thought after being shot, now he has some gray space, and that was an example of having some gray space.
I would be fine. I think being shot, yeah, that sucks, but that's part of the job. Losing my wife and having to be on the phone talking to her as you see the nuclear missiles coming down. When we get to episode 7, woo, that was.
Well, when we get to 7,
that changed him 100%. I think that changed who he was, who he trusted, and everything to do with everything.
There's a lot going on. But the great part about this episode is at the end, again, now you're like, okay, so what we're going to expect in the next one.
Yeah.
And I think they did an excellent job, really keeping us engaged into this. Until I in episode 6, you know what I call it?
What?
The takeover.
All right. So you asked for miracles. Is episode 6. Xavier and Robinson set their plans in motion while Sinatra works to preserve the status quo in paradise. Well, we haven't really talked about Robinson because that's a very interesting character in herself too, because she's the black woman who was the head of everybody, right? Ahead of all these things, who's sleeping with the president. And Xavier did point her out multiple times, even when he's being interrogated. It's like, how you'll let her do the investigation? She's sleeping with the president. Said it just in front of everybody. Made her, embarrass her and whatever, but he didn't trust her from get-go. And it's funny because as we get episode 5, episode 6, all of a sudden they start to trust each other. They realize I can't trust anyone else but you.
See, but I don't think it's about trust. It was about judgment. he was judgmental toward her because he's like, how could you sleep with a married man? Again, he had this moral right and wrong in his head. And so he judged it. Well, like I said, it became a little more gray area from my perspective. But the thing is about Robinson is she is, for me, the first character that really you saw over all the episodes. You saw the develop over all episodes. Like you focused on Collins, you focused on Sinatra, you focused on Dr. Robbie, you focused on Billy. Now Robinson, she didn't get really the focus like that.
Ever. It was like, she was always the background character in each episode. But
she was there in every episode, which made it interesting because you found out about her layers too, which was really, was really interesting. Like we didn't know about her background, how she even got the position, but we just knew about her process throughout the series. So yeah, but she is a very interesting person too, in that, and that she is very competent at what she does, and she's ready to move when she has to.
I don't know.
Yes, competence.
I don't know. Because I know she had information that really helped out. I think she was good at some of the stuff. All of them were good at some things, but I don't know. But
everybody was exceptional.
Yeah, but they're the only 25,000 people.
That's my point. So everybody's exceptional.
But that's just like this. But when everyone is exceptional, how does that really change anything? Like, I don't know. I felt like she was manipulated more than anyone, and she allowed that manipulation, and I didn't like it. I didn't like her character for a long time. Really? I did not. I thought that it was a bad character overall. And she should thought more of herself, or listening to this guy. I don't like letting this guy manipulate you and tell you what the things you want to hear, and then until the end, till we now know, to the end of their overall relationship, not putting your foot down. I thought that was just bad. I don't like it.
So, but I think you missed the point.
No, I don't think I missed the point. My value is that I don't think that's a good thing.
Let me tell you why.
Having my girls, I will never want them to be that type of woman.
Well, but this is the type I think you missed. She loved him.
Yeah, I didn't miss that. So
but it
you
wasn't
allowed
about.
yourself to be in love with a married man who's not dedicating himself to you.
Well, the thing is
Doesn't
for her,
matter. Right?
but it wasn't, again, she's not about like Xavier, whether it's just right or wrong. She's more about, hey, we got to live and figure out how we're going to do this. And so she's different than he is.
And
But
that's why I think she wasn't as exceptional. If you
no,
call
she
her
was definitely
exceptional, I don't think she was
exceptional.
exceptional.
When she needed to get people who's going to follow her, did she have any problem?
No, she got Xavier because
No,
they
no.
followed him.
No, they did not. They followed her. When she had to go and get people who going to follow her, she had no problem.
They followed him.
They
She was the
followed
boss.
her. Okay.
I don't think they did.
I saw it differently because
Okay.
they didn't know him. They knew her.
What are you talking about?
In
that town, all of them knew Xavier.
Of course.
But when they're down there, everyone knew Xavier. Everyone was talking to him.
I think you're underestimating her. You're underestimating her. She was how did she even get to the place where she can guard the president
beforehand, right?
But
she's not guarding the parents. She's over the whole thing. But
exactly,
that's not neither there. I'm talking about in there when her relationship with the president didn't start until they got into the mountain.
And like I said, I think you're misreading her. You had Dr. Tarabi, you have Sinatra, and you have Robinson. Very, very competent, high functioning women.
All of them are. Everyone
but that's
in
the
there
point.
Everyone is. I don't believe inside the society that she was doing the right thing, and I don't believe that she held herself to the standard that I would think. But
exactly, I think you sounded like at first how Collins was. Collins had a clear right or wrong about things, which is cool.
No, and I think he's still right. I don't think he's wrong. But what's beneficial, only benefit of having her Robinson was that she knew where the guns were. That was the only benefit.
And she was an excellent soldier. She was excellent.
So was everyone else.
But that's the point.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think I'm not identifying her as anything different.
Just because everybody's exceptional doesn't mean I got to do something to become more exceptional. We can just be all exceptional people.
Okay, let's just go on.
Okay.
But I don't think she's worth any of this 15 minutes conversation. But let's go on.
Let me just say this last thing. Like I said, I called it the takeover, and I said everybody got to choose a side.
Mm-hmm.
This is when everybody chooses a side.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Tarabi chose a side.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson chose a side. Collins chose a side.
Everybody
had to choose a side. Those in power had to choose a side.
Did Tarabi choose a side, or was she didn't even realize that she was choosing a side when she got
she
there?
chose a side.
Xavier told her you chose a side.
No, she did chose a side. How did my question? Well, is that the next one? Yes, that's the next piece. I'll tell you how she chose a side.
Yeah, no, I don't think she realized she chose a side, but she definitely chose a side. I just don't think she even realized it. Now, so episode 7 is the day. Episode 7 is the best episode of the entire series. There's no question. It is rated. So I'm talking about ranking. Rated. Okay. The first episode was 8.3. This rank was a 9.6. It's not even in the same realm. It is the best episode by all critics. Because it shows the day. It's the day that we always wanted to hear. Sinatra and Xavier confront their past, return to the harrowing day that brought them to paradise. You start to see all the details that we missed, all the details that no one explained to us. We understand more about Cal Bradford and his motivation and his complex relationship with his father. And his even more complex relationship with his son and what pushed him to do a lot of these things. And then the decisions that he made that affected everyone else's lives. And all the lives he might have saved. So, what do you think about episode 7?
I think episode 7, it was great. I thought it was a great episode to fill in the blanks. Like from 1 to 6, it was telling the story. Then you're like, but how did we get here? And that's what episode 7 did. Episode 7 filled in so many of the blanks where I really title it The Escaped and the Left Behind. You have the escape with people leaving the White House and you have all these planes and everything going, people rushing in different places. And then you saw all these people left behind. You saw the Supreme Court and some Congress and everything. The plane goes down. And so now
all the rest of the cabinet.
Leaders, the leaders and everything go. So you saw all this going, and you're right. And that really, and that excruciating decision that he had to make, that decision. So you
saved the world.
Yes, he did. He did. Where my only question is, he would not explode the nukes, and he did EMT. He let it
EMP,
go. EMP,
EMP.
where he
Mhm.
let go, and so no nukes went off.
It also
However,
fried all all the communication for the outside world.
but hey, he saved them, and
I agree.
that's it. Again, that's one of those judgment decisions too. However, my only issue is, why did you wait for so long? You could have come up with, some type of holiday. Oh, what we're doing in the country, every family has to get back together, for the next 3 years because of this. Come up with an idea so families will come back together and have to deal with the apocalypse that you knew was coming. Come up with an idea. Why would you wait to the last day and say, well, by the way,
They
something's
didn't
going to
know.
happen?
They didn't know, because remember
I know it was
they thought they're
immediately
gonna have months,
months, and it was
months to
hours,
have, and it was 12 hours.
Yes,
So they
yes,
went from saying it's gonna be. I thought you said 8 months, and they said, well, you got about an hour and a half.
hour and a half. Yeah, we got hours to get this done. Yeah, but I'm talking about some plan to, just slowly, how you can bring something back so it can impact people, over time, rather than, you thought you had 8 months. Why didn't you take 2 years to make this plan for it to happen? And it would have been in process by now. But anyway, that's my only criticism of, boy, Bradford, in the cabinet, you could have come up with something,
No,
that
but
would.
you're assuming that they cared. So that's not what,
That's true.
and that's a bad assumption, because we saw what the rest of the board, even though they're going to die, what they say, hey, the rest of these natural resources are going to go. We need to set up our nukes. That was the answer. Bradford's the only one that decided to do exact opposite. So no, I think that was good, and we start to
Was
see
it good? You think that was the best decision, or the other
100%.
decision could have been really good too?
No, the other decision would have had nuclear winter for the entire world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so no, I think what he made, that decision he made, was the best decision that he could. This is also the episode we start to see Xavier Collins did have to deal with his wife not being there. So I blame him. You don't allow your wife to go off anywhere. If you know that something could happen, you just say no. And he's like, I don't care if you don't give me more information. She's not gonna listen to me. I don't care if I gotta hold you down. You're
Well,
not going
you
anywhere.
can't use allow. Allow doesn't work. Allow doesn't work.
You know what?
It
You can
has to
hate
be.
me forever. You can hate
But
me
I'm not going to
forever.
allow you. But
I'm not
no,
going to allow you to go.
in our no, it's not about allow. It's about, hey, we're in a relationship here. No, there are just some things we can discuss, and some things we just got to do. There are times I got to do something that I don't like it, but I still do it. And it's like there are things that you don't like, but you still do. And that's the commitment in our relationship. You may not understand, but this has to be done. You may not understand it, but this has to be done. So I'm not allowing you. I'm saying, because of our relationship, this is something we have to do.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't matter. But obviously their relationship wasn't that way. So you're saying that you should be able to talk out. Relationships don't always work that way. So at a point where it gets to that, I don't care if I have to physically tell you we got to stay here. I need you to stay here, no matter what. I can.
You're talking about one of the controversies I want to talk about, so that's why I was trying not to go too far there.
Oh wow, yeah. Let's get through episode 7. So episode 7 was a lot of stuff. I think Bradford did a wonderful job with that. He saved, and the fact that Xavier never was in the room. He was in the room everywhere else. Him not being in the room, knowing that he did do that the nuke didn't go off. And then him to be with Xavier for 3 years and never tell him, hey, the missiles never went off. There's a chance there are people out there surviving. He never told Xavier.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had such a rocky relationship.
He told him a lot of other things.
But like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to sleep until you're not here, until you're dead.
Yeah, until you're dead, yeah.
Woo, that was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but I what do you expect? That's 3 years. What do you expect in 3 years? But I do want to read this review of episode 7. It says, wow, this show is really something else. Please don't let this show be interfered with in any way, because it's amazing. Episode 7 was maybe the best episode on TV I've watched in a decade. Wow. From start to finish, you are on the edge of your seat with great acting, great writing, set design, and score. Sterling K. Brown and James Martison made this episode. Everyone else is amazing, including Julianne Nichols and Chris Marshall, but they are really carry this episode and season. The story structure has been done a few times, but somehow it finds a way to be original in itself. And we need originality. Can't wait to see the final episode. That's what the penultimate episode did for this season, this series.
And I would say, like I said, I think it just filled in so many blanks that we were like, answers. Oh, right. And really, it just tied it all together. And usually shows don't do this. This is tied all together where you're like, oh, I see why he did it. Oh, I see. Oh. And yes, and characters, I think came throughout here. And so again, to me, again, psychologically is the decision that he made. And he had to make it because in many ways, he was very different also. Because I think prior to that, he just did what Redmond said or what Sinatra said. But in this situation, again, he had to face himself.
He didn't do what Sinatra said at all until, I mean, he was still president. So he was still doing that. He didn't do what Sinatra said until they got into the.
Well, that's the point. But it has to be a lot of. He knew as the president knew what was going on in
It was all the rest of those all the other people, all the popular, powerful, rich people that he was part of that group. So but that it wasn't Sinatra, it was the whole group. Sinatra didn't become really important with him until they got there.
No, remember they met each other so much earlier when she was talking about building the town.
Yeah,
and
he knew it. He knew it, but he also didn't. She didn't run anything till then.
But yes, she did. She did it through her father.
Through his father.
Through his father.
I don't know if she did through his father. His father himself was already that type of dude.
Well, of course, he was a billionaire, and he was like, hey, he knew exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. He's the one who told, you're not going to be a teacher. You're going to be president. That's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. But that's the point. He was just doing what he was told. Mm-hmm. He was just following the playbook, not there.
Yeah, but not Sinatra. He was following the overall playbook until that's the first time he did something as president.
Exactly. Well, as a person saying, no, this is what I'm going to do, no matter what you say.
No matter what.
Well, no, because I have to make the decision. When I'm the president or whatever, I'm making this decision. Either I'm going to kill the rest of the world, or I'm going to give them a chance.
Yeah,
I'm choosing.
The point is that only the president is going to make that choice. So that's the first thing he made as president.
Well, hey, it was something to find out. You mean there is a EMP?
Yeah.
It's like, really?
That's probably true.
but that was really something to hear. Like, oh, so there's a possibility. So yes, I thought that was very interesting. So when you say 7 was the best, I can see that. It's just that one grabbed me and didn't let me go.
It's the best pilot, but it's still a pilot. Right. And 7 is the best episode of everything of this one. But episode 8 is the finale with the man who kept the secrets. Xavier Robinson raced to find the President Bradford's murderer before it's too late. Was it too late for? Well, at the end of episode 7, we find out that Sinatra has access to Presley. And now Xavier has to make a decision. I probably would still shot Sinatra in the first kneecap. Pow! All right, what about now? What you better call us? Pow! Other kneecap. Bring my daughter here. Like, there is no other conversation.
What did you have to question? What was your hesitation? But that's my point. Not all of a sudden you're gonna hesitate.
Like, wait, you can't use the phone if I shoot your other hand. You gonna grab it now?
What are you waiting for? Oh, you have my daughter. And then of course the other part was, and your wife may be alive.
Yeah.
Which,
But that's something.
Guess what? I'm gonna shoot you in the knee so you can tell me everything.
Still, exactly. I need to know. I'm still in power. You haven't done anything. I'm still with a gun. Giving you my gun. You ain't got nothing else.
And you're gonna tell me what my daughter is too. So.
And I might still go find out who killed the president, but that has nothing to do with you.
You're right.
I think that's probably one of the weaker episodes that we had the entire season. I think the finale was good, but I think it's that one and the probably that one's probably my least favorite.
Really? But you know what? I felt like it tells the story how we got here. This is how we got here in the first place, and it tells that story.
I mean, that's 7.
Right? No, 8 isn't that when he in 8 where they
Is when
told
he's investigating who actually
no,
killed.
not Collins. I'm talking about Trent.
Oh, you're talking about Trent. So yeah, shows
Trent.
why Trent. Which
Trent.
Trent is wrong. Trent
Well,
was
look,
wrong.
no, see,
Why
there
is he
you go
mad at
again.
Cal?
He's
Why is he
mad
mad
at
at Cal?
because he thought that Cal had an opportunity to help other people and did not. Because again, the whole point of that, Trent was angry at them even building this city when this town.
No,
when he
that's the
knows
only
all
thing
these
he's
people
wrong.
were sacrificed.
No, that's the real thing. No, he shot at Cal. He's the one who shot Xavier Collins. Remember that.
Yes.
So the reason why they got into minutia a little bit, but the reason is he fell in love with that African dude.
Oh well.
Yeah, it wasn't just I'm telling you, it wasn't just a connection. It was more of than that. He fell in love with him. I'm not sure that it was reciprocated, but it doesn't matter. So but
whatever the
he
reason
didn't
was.
work for Cal. Cal wasn't the one who was putting the town together. It wasn't his company doing it. It wasn't anything to do with him at all. He was just the president. He had nothing to do with the town at all. His father was the person that was doing it. His father was the one who ran the construction company. His father is not the most protected person in the entire world. Why are you going after Cal instead of going after his father? Who's there? Who's able to be shot at? I still don't. I think his anger was misplaced.
I don't think it was misplaced. I think that I can follow him in that I'm telling people that this is going to kill anybody who works on this town. It's going to kill anyone. And what you're going to tell me is like, well, be quiet and get out of here. He is a whistleblower.
Though. But he did. Cal's not the person who told him that.
But it's not what it is. It's I can't get to you or you, so I'm going to try to get to you. You know,
he could. He literally could get to the other two people. That's the problem. He can literally get to them. Why would you go after the most protected person in the world? Like he could literally get to the other one.
Because he wants to tell the story. He wants to tell whether he loved the guy or not, or whether he's the only connection they had, whatever that reason is. But you're building this town. You're building this town on the lives of people who you say don't mean anything. Yep. Their lives mean nothing. And so what? We're going to save these people. But yeah, these people should have a choice. You're just killing them. And that's really what his anger is about. You're just killing all these people.
But that has nothing to do with Cal.
No, but it talks about his motivation. What was his motivation? So hurting anyone was something that he was going to do.
Hurting someone, I understand. I understand his motivation. I understand. I'm saying, why Cal?
Because he was the most powerful man in the world.
He wasn't even the president when this was going on. He couldn't stop it. You think he could stop something?
Yes.
That's not his construction company. It has he doesn't have. It wasn't his money. It wasn't his construction company. It had nothing to do with him. He
was the president of the United States who can do whatever he wants to do. And as a result of that, I'm going to get to you now. Rather than shoot him, it could have been one of those things.
He can do everything he wants to do. He should. If you tell me if he would have killed Jeremy Bradford, you tell me that wouldn't have worked. He could have, if he killed Jeremy Bradford, who was one of the most wealthy people in the world, the president's father, killed him, then he wouldn't have got his story out.
Well, all he had to do was write an executive order. He can change everything.
He still killed. He can't unkill his dad. So I'm saying, why wouldn't he kill him? Why wouldn't he go after the guy who's not the most protected man in the world?
Again, not that it was all logical and everything, but I can see him feeling like, what else can I do? And he was just really trying to figure out, what can I do? And of course, I'm not saying he was clearly logical or rational, whatever, but he was driven, and he was willing to do anything in order to bring this to light. Again, not that it was clearly thought through, but this is what happened.
You spent a lot of years to not be thinking rationally. That's a lot.
Well, he was in jail. I mean, he was in jail, and they get this opportunity, which just seems so flimsy to me. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, that this was the weakest part of the whole series. Like, really, he's going to get out become an officer, see this person who's driving to the place,
He
who
wasn't
has
become. He didn't become an officer. He just put on the
uniform,
clothes.
right, and then walk to the people, get them, walk them out, shoot them, and you and find this other woman, go in, and you're able to get it in. I thought this was really, you're gonna end it.
It was
like
herding
this.
cattle because it was a panic at the end.
Yeah,
I still think I agree it's very flimsy, but I understand.
That was to me, it was the weakest thing of it all. But you know what?
Well, how about the fact that if they have cameras all over the place and all around the place where the president lives, how did they not see him in the bushes? He didn't go. That wasn't the only time he was in the bushes, right? Not that night. He planned it. He knew what they were doing.
He knew they were turning it off.
He was watching them for weeks.
He
was planning it. So no one ever saw him. He knew where all the cameras were. No one ever saw this dude.
Inconspicuous. He was just one of those guys.
You librarian.
Yeah. Well, he's just a regular guy that you don't even notice, and that's what his point. He was right in front of their face, and nobody noticed.
Yes, but he had to be in the bushes. He had to get there. No camera ever caught him. That's crazy.
Of course. Again, that's
because you say it's TV. This is why.
Well, no, you say this is what ties it all together, because now you see what actually happened for the president to die. So yes, I would say this was the weekend, and the whole tent was, oh, now we're gonna have this new hope, and it's like, no, because even he was like, just like Billy, I'm in this new place, and I'm having new life. And Maggie, new life. This is just so new hope. So he had this new hope, and all of them did, all of them, same thing. But even with each of the character, particularly with Jane, all of them felt like it's a new hope.
I don't know. You know
what?
Not Jane.
But you know what? All of them have to bring themselves there. And all the stuff that they were before, they still are now. It's just that now they can really try to have some new experiences that can change everything. You are who you are. However, you can change over time. And I think that's possible. Again, as a counselor, as a psychologist, as any of that, we can change our lives, especially with effort and focus. And I believe, no matter what, that's possible for all of us.
Okay. That end of the episode gets so they catch Trent, whatever. So Jane does not kill Presley. Jane keeps her safe because apparently she has a connection with Presley too. And she made a decision, and she came after Sinatra and shoots her, but doesn't kill her.
Again, another situation for real. So you're gonna have a gun and you're not gonna shoot her, and you're gonna have Jane run and think, I think I'm gonna shoot her in the throat. I'm not gonna really kill her. Jane just all of a sudden figure it out.
There's a relationship between them that we're gonna find out in season 2.
That Jane and what?
Between Jane and Sinatra. There's a relationship there.
Yeah.
Even maybe it's her sister. Maybe
or it's a replacing of her son with another person that she sees as a
there's going to be more of a flashback that shows that there's a connection with them.
Sure.
There's something. She was abandoned or something like that, and she took care of her. Something to that effect. So I think that we're going to see that in the next episode. And that's the reason she didn't kill her. She also wanted to have control over her because maybe Sinatra was controlling her her entire life, and she wanted retribution for that. So I think that's something that's going to come back from that.
Well, she's just as damaged to me as Billy, when really what she really wanted was a we.
Yeah. Isn't that stupid? Just give her the we.
She just wanted was the we. And then
but that was one for Sinatra. She thought that was power. That was her power over her.
But Jane was able to all of a sudden quickly think, I'm going to shoot her and not kill her. Yeah. Really? And then Xavier is going to sit there and have a gun and not. How many times he's got a chance to really end the whole situation? Never does. I mean, really,
he should have killed him. He should have killed him multiple times.
His situation, I'm like, what is going on with this guy? And that sort of leads me to some of my controversies that I have.
Okay, so in the episode, so Xavier saves the day, basically talks to his kids, tells them, hey, I need to go. I'm gonna go find your mom. Robinson says, you can go because I got them.
Right.
So their relationship, as frayed as it was at the beginning, became a lot more close, and he trusted her more than he trusted anyone else. That's why I say he finally trusted her. And he said, okay, he could leave his kids with her knowing that everything's going to be okay. And he went to go out and get his wife. And because his father's a pilot, he's always flew. Only reason he didn't become a pilot was, or even join the Air Force, is because his eyesight was bad. So like literally, he knew how to fly the plane. So he's taking this plane out to Atlanta. Now I have a few questions about that because I'm like, from Colorado to Atlanta in a small plane, is there enough fuel? How you gonna get back?
Yeah, and how about a runway? Do you think you have a runway and you just run whatever's there, and then whatever I'm going to be able to do.
It's going to drop out of the mountain and hope they catch it. So there's a lot of questions I had with it, but whatever. It is.
And we have enough fuel in it all ready to go. You know,
and you had fuel in the mountain that was ready because you thought you were going to go back out, and then when you turn back around, where you going to get fuel from? So I had a whole litany of questions, but whatever. That's what it is with that in the episode. That's in episode 8. So what is your overall thoughts about this
Paradise is a very, very good series, you know, with a lot of complex, multi-layered characters. The series started off with a bang and continue with an above average storyline that developed characters and took consequences, you know, and sequences over time that really grabbed you and kept you throughout each of the episodes, you know, to really begin to see how, you know, a underground town get built and how it functions and how they chose people to make it function, and then people who actually run it, to be able to see all the steps and then to be able to pull it all together and everyone to say, yes, is exceptional. I thought it was very good. Like I said, my issue was that really some situations where really, you know, but very good. And I would highly recommend it for people to actually watch.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I second all those things. I thought it was one of my favorite things I've watched this year. One of them, but I've watched a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's just one. With that being said, you say you have 4 issues. Can we kind of go over those real quick?
Yes. Let me just say what they are.
Okay.
Controversy number 1: how the main character behaved in male-female relationships. There were some clear issues with male-female relationships throughout, particularly with Black male and females. There was overall general, and then specifically with Black male and females. I thought that was one controversy. Number 2, felt like many characters functioned out of untreated personal trauma.
Isn't that most of the world, though?
Well, but I think it was more focused on in this series where you can see all this trauma going on and people functioning out of it. I just thought, yeah. And I think in today's world, we recognize the impact of trauma that we didn't know. And now we know. And I think in this series, you're able to see this really acting out of trauma. That was number 2. Number 3, billionaire leaderships, oligarchs. That's sort of apropos to now.
There's a lot of things in this show.
Yeah, it was very... like, ooh, you're like, ooh, and you see the regular people, how they live, and then you have the billionaires, and all the billionaires were leaders. You know, they're leaders, and they had things special for them because we billionaires. And I'm like, that sort of applies to some things, and I think that's controversial, you know, in that. And my final things, of course, was the leadership piece. The leadership piece in that all billionaires and that there was no diversity within the billionaires. All the billionaires.
But so because there's a lot of diversity in billionaires, but the billionaires that are there was no diversity in that.
But I'm just, again, I'm identifying, you can make up anything. And here it is that you have a cast clearly is diverse, you know, with women and men and different levels of functioning and everything. But yet, when it comes to the billionaires, it's primarily all white men, you know, and it was
led by a white woman.
Yes. But again, everybody was white. Billionaires, everybody was white. And it's like you make all the decisions. So those were the 4 things. But now let me say this about the character of the male-female relationships. And I think you mentioned it before. Clearly, Xavier had issues with being able to be direct with women, particularly with Black women. He hesitates. He hesitates, you know, with his wife I can imagine again from a psychological perspective, it might speak to his relationship with his mother and his dad. With his dad is gone flying all the time, or gone in the services, and his relationship with primarily with his mother. Who knows how his mother was? We don't know, but we know that clearly with his wife, it seems like some things could not be directly discussed. Like he said, I couldn't really.
I better have some more information if I'm gonna go to her with this.
Exactly. It's like, no, we need to have some direct conversations. And then there was seen with his daughter.
Yeah, no, that's just a teenage girl. I would, boy.
But no,
you
it's
ain't
not.
Going nowhere.
Of course. But the whole point is, again, he had no expectation for her. Even when she didn't do what he asked her to do, he didn't say anything.
Yeah,
he was like, okay,
mm-hmm.
but usually most people, again, have a direct conversation about something. Hey, like, go and look after your brother, and then your brother's not, and then you didn't go and look after your brother.
Yeah.
Those types of things. I know she's a teenager, but it's, again, direct conversations. And then, of course, the third relationship was even with Agent Robinson. Again, some direct conversations about things. It seems like, let's talk about it. It just seems like he was hesitant to do that. And that's particularly Black women. But even with Redmond, what is he, Sinatra, what is he doing always hesitating on dealing with the situation? It was just several times that make a decision, do something. You are the head of the Secret Service, and you can't even make any decision in these situations. What is going on with you? Again,
honestly, he didn't kill anyone until they were leaving the White House. That was the only time that you saw him kill anyone. Besides that, he tried to value life. It looks like
I think he was operating out him being shot, and he didn't want to shoot anybody else.
No, he killed everybody. He was shooting people in the face.
He didn't want to leave
the White House.
but I mean, those other things. So that was one of Trump, and I think that need to be explored. I was sort of disappointed. Why is it? I mean, everybody's competent here, and then even the women were all exceptional in things, and that's great. Mm-hmm. The men are exceptional at things, but there should be direct conversations about things. And it seems like nobody really had any direct conversations about anything. And
I don't think society does that as a whole.
But now when it's only 25,000 people and you're the leadership taking care of things, I
still think that people prefer to have the wool pull over their eyes. Mm-hmm. They prefer to not have that direct conversation. They can pretend that they don't know anything. I think that's what they would rather do. It's unfortunate.
Well, I just feel clearly. Think that for Collins, this is clearly something that's pretty obvious. Hopefully, they can deal or say something about this. As they have season 2, because to me, it seems like he's avoiding dealing with relationships that he needs to deal with. Because if you're going to be head of the Secret Service and make a decision, so you can make decisions again in your occupational life, but you can do nothing in your personal life. And that seems like there is clearly, again, a bifurcation of how he deals with things with his job and with his family. So that's what it seems like. Because to be able to tell your dad, I'm going to retire you, and I sent in the paperwork, whoa, that was direct in your face. And to be able to do that with your dad, but you can't.
I told you that I would retire you. I retired you. I sent in your paperwork. What you talking about? I literally sent in your.
Guess what?
I would never do that.
I didn't say you wouldn't have to, because I would have been like, it's time for me to go. You wouldn't have to. You're like, Dad, did you have the paperwork? Oh, that was in last week already.
That's funny. It's funny, but even the way it's funny because you're saying that, but you see his daughter and the way he treats his daughter and his son, there are two different ways too. So it's a very interesting idea that you're bringing up.
You don't even do you know his son's name? Most people don't even know his name. His name is James.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know Presley that well, so either way,
But you saw Presley.
He says James. He asked about James a lot, so I
right. Where's James? Presley, like, I don't know. It's okay. Where's James? I don't know, but it's okay. Where is James? Where's your brother? I don't know. I was like, really? But as long as you can go and spend some time with Jeremy, that's cool because hey, you and Jeremy, you're a teenager,
That's
you know,
teenage kids though.
and
So you
that and
can
that's
get mad
totally
at that.
fine. But
That's
that's
fine.
totally fine. But my question again is, I'm just gonna let you run around and not even think about your little brother because your mother's not here. You just run around.
It's only 25,000 people there. They ain't gonna get too much trouble.
Yeah,
You'll be all right.
I'm gonna
That's
see
a
you with
small town.
I would see you with the neighbor next door who you can play with his dog.
It'll be fine.
So,
Yes, that's a small town.
so that was number one. But I mean, again, I mentioned trauma. But the other thing, the final thing, this the whole thing about billionaires. It's sort of concerning that the only people who can make really, of course, you have people who actually run the town. They run the town every day, have life and create life for you to have an experience in your living. So you have typical people who are good at what they do, and then you have people who are just who help to function. I just thought of the book was called Walden too, that really created that town. But then you have this town, but then you have billionaires making decisions about things that you really know nothing about that impact your life, but yet you have no idea. Why they decide to turn off all the lights, or not that you need to know everything. No, that you need to know everything, but that really, if something's going to be done, it should be representative of the town of 25,000 people. It doesn't all have to be billionaires. It can be billionaires, but it can also be millionaires. It can be thousandaires. It can be a waitress. It can be, again, if we believe in, and I have to say this maybe from my perspective, believing in a republic and democracy and how things work for everybody. Maybe that's how I might see it.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that's what this town was. The people didn't put their money in to do it. People, none of those people did any of those things, so they no longer cared. So I hear what you're saying. I think you open up to another conversation we were going to have, but I don't know. I think that it wasn't democracy anymore, and it was just a figurehead.
Oligarchy. It was oligarchy, is what it was.
And that's why the president was important for people to follow. But most people don't want to deal with that. Most people want to be told what to do, and I think that's what was going on right now. But with that being said, guys, we have reviewed most of this of Paradise, and we've gotten to almost a little bit over an hour now, so we need to get off of this. I appreciate anyone who's watching this video. I want to thank my father, Dr. Waller, who is actually going to start his own channel, and I will be publicizing that. If you guys like any of the stuff he says, because he is very intelligent, very thoughtful, I'm pretty sure you're going to like it. Why don't you tell them kind of idea of what you're going to be doing?
What I'm going to talk about is a couple things, more of a lifestyle, and of course for entertainment purposes. Well, I'm going to talk about being a psychologist, a counselor, spiritual leader, and also a coach. About making decisions in your life where you can get what you say that you want. And so I want to help people to be able to do that, providing information and providing ways to do things. So that's what I'm looking for. So I have a couple of them going on, but this will be the first one I'm going to start.
Okay, sounds good to me. Apparently, I'm rewatching it, so it's okay. I might be editing it too. But as it goes along, guys, I'm 1/3 of Spoiler Kings. I was mad at the other guys for not watching it, so I wanted to get this out. I'm glad. I want to thank my dad for coming out here to talk about this. I'm pretty sure we're going to do some more things that we'll review. But for that being said, we'll see you guys later.
Goodbye, everybody.